Chase still trying to protect Willow. Drew still trying to have Michael arrested. I said, some things never change. Some things never change. But on today's new episode of General Hospital, Drew was talking to Martin, and he told Martin that he'd make Stella charges go away if he represent him. I said, first of all, Martin, you don't know who he was on the phone with. I said, you don't know who he was on the phone with. I said, he could have been on the phone with anybody if he was on the phone at all. If he was on the phone at all, I said, what about him has proven that he's loyal? Proven that he'll keep his word. He over here trying to put Michael in jail. Still, as soon as 88 Turner came in the doggone room, he talking about some Michael this and Michael that. I was like, dude, please. But yeah, Drew ended up telling Martin that he'll make Stella charges go away if he represent him, as if he can be trusted. As if he could be trusted. But he just wanted him to represent him so he could keep them from going to his safe. But they already went in there. They already found out the evidence about, the $1 million and stuff like that. But I was like, they could just say that it was framed. It was framed. That he was framed or something like that. Chase want to tell Willow what they found, but Anna ended up telling him that he can't. Marco learns that Sidwell murdered the judge, and he was acting all shocked and stuff. I said, didn't Natalia, wasn't that her name? Didn't Natalia tell him who his daddy was? Jason ended up telling Carly and them about Brett. Vaughn got promoted. I said, now how they fail at their job and get promoted? And I was like, I understand that Colette is out of the picture or whatever because she double-crossed them and everything, but at the same time, what has Vaughn did that means he needs to be promoted? But yeah, he done got promoted. Josh has to go back to college. Brittany Oberg ended up having it out, and I was disappointed. And I think the last thing is that 88 Turner ended up telling Drew about the document. But hey, y'all, and welcome back to another review of Life of Chester for the General Hospital, September 15, 2025. First things first, let me know y'all thoughts on today's new episode down below. What did y'all think? Did y'all like the episode? Are y'all shocked by Brittany's actions? Well, who we gonna talk about first? I guess Drew and Martin. So the whole scene with him, he summoned Martin to his hospital room and everything. I said, get up, ain't nothing wrong with you. First of all, get up. But yeah, Drew was like, he need a lawyer. So Martin was over here like, why would he be his lawyer? So he ended up dangling something in front of his face. He ended up telling Martin that he could make Stella charges go away. So he got on the phone or whatever, because Martin said he had to make the phone call before he agrees to be his lawyer. So he made the phone call, but we don't know who he called. We don't know if there was actually the people or not. I was like, how you know that he could be trusted? Well, first of all, he can't be trusted. Let's clear that on right now. But he ended up making the call, whatever, and that's when Martin asked him what he wanted. He wanted him to be his lawyer so he could prevent the cops from actually going through his safe. But it was too late. They already found the document saying that, he was the one who wired the $1 million or whatever. 88 Turner over here talking about something, why would he do that or whatever if he wanted her to get the kids back? I said, right. I said, exactly. So they was talking about how he wanted to be the one to get the kids back or whatever, and he also wanted her to marry him. I said, that's true too. I said, hopefully Michael don't get arrested, but the more they talk about this, the more I said it looked like Michael did it. The more they talk about it. Anna, Chase, 88 Turner. So Chase came into Anna's office, and that's when he was saying how he found more evidence or whatever. He showed her the document that said that Drew had wired $1 million to the judge or whatever. So they think that, or Chase thinks that Drew is the one who had her murdered or whatever. So he showed Anna whatever. So she called in 88 Turner. 88 Turner was the one who said, why would he do that if he wanted Willow to get the kids back? And that's when they talked about them getting engaged after the fact. Or whatever. So she took it upon herself to go tell him at the end of the episode that they found the document, but they didn't show his reaction. I'm assuming he's gonna say that he was framed, that he found out that it came from Michael or whatever. But I said, but it can't though. Can he say it? Because Sidwell's the only one. Marco was the one who told Drew or whatever. Marco was the one that told Drew. I was like, he can't say nothing without incriminating Sidwell or whatever. But apparently Sidwell still has another plan. Anna ended up telling Chase that she thinks that he's too emotionally involved. Because when 88 Turner was there, he kept on saying Drew this and Drew that or whatever. And basically, he should have been removed. Dante should have been removed or whatever. They shouldn't even be working on the doggone case. That's the equivalent of how people who related to the people in the hospital be working on them and stuff. You ain't supposed to do that. That's a conflict of interest. But yeah, she was telling him how he's too emotionally involved. He kept going on and on about how he thinks Willow has a right to know and stuff like that. So she told him he can't tell her nothing. He can't tell nobody. Nobody can know about that evidence or whatever. So I was like, do y'all think that he's actually going to keep his word? Not keep his word, but do y'all think he's going to tell Willow? Do y'all think he's going to tell Willow? Anna was also saying how she thinks that there could be motive for Willow to shoot Drew or whatever. I said, exactly. I think Willow did it. Now, I don't know because they take it too long to reveal it, but I'm assuming it was Willow. Or either Sidwell. I don't know. We'll see. And the reason I say it could have been Sidwell, not because of the shadow, because obviously whoever it was had hair. People are saying that it could have been Colette because, Colette has been working with Sidwell. Speaking of Sidwell and Marco. Okay, so now I'm confused. Now I thought when they had the whole little conversation about Sonny, first of all, they had multiple conversations about Sonny and everything and dealing with him and making him pay and stuff like this and the judge this and finding the judge. So I'm thinking, okay, Marco put two and two together now. Because at first he was saying, I don't know if my father's doing this and doing that. Obviously he's been doing that. Now you got proof. But yeah, aside from that, I was thinking he was on board for it. He gonna say on today's episode. So he was like asking Sidwell if he was responsible for the judge's death or whatever. He was like, no, I'm not responsible. You are. And he's like, me or whatever. He explained that he had to go snitching, and that's what led to it. No, that ain't what he said, but that's basically what he said. I said, now your mama told you before she died. She told you before she died, literally, about your daddy. Even before then, she told you about him, what he was into. You thought she was making it up, didn't you? You thought she was making it up. And the fact that he keep on mentioning Natalia to get Marco on his side. You know doggone well, I don't know if you know or not, but it's looking like he knows. That's why he keep mentioning Natalia so that Marco could be on his side or whatever. I was starting to think he slid up in that doggone hotel room and slipped something in that girl drink or something. I'm starting to think he done did something. He keep mentioning her. But yeah, Sidwell was just telling Marco why he had to murder the judge and stuff like that. And then he ended up telling him how, he better not betray him again. I said, watch your back. But yeah, I was like, why is Marco shot? But yeah, it was revealed that Sid was the one that took out the judge. Yeah, I think we pretty much knew that. But I like when they actually say it. Now, if they could just say who blew up Michael, we'll be good. But yeah, I think that was the last thing for Sidwell and Marco. Carly, Brick, Sonny, and Jason. Before Jason got there, I think they was talking about Michael. What's they talking about Michael? Why wouldn't they believe Drew or whatever? And that's when Jason came in. He ends up telling Carly and them what happened, that Britt's still alive, and Carly felt some type of way because Jason didn't tell about his plans to go save Britt and stuff like that. She felt excluded. I said, wait until you find out about your daughter. Do y'all think that Jason's going to tell? Because Josh is convinced that he's not going to say anything. I feel like he might, but I don't know. But yeah, I was waiting on this storyline to come out. They over here trying to drag it and stuff. Brendan talking about something, if Jason don't say anything, basically their cover is not blown. Britt, Nina, and Liesl. So basically they were just talking about the same thing. Liesl was upset because she faked her own death and stuff like that. She was saying how she was grieving her, but now that she knows that she alive, as far as she's concerned, both of her kids dead. I said, I don't think neither one of your kids dead because they saying Nathan come back this month. Or whatever. But yeah, Britt ended up getting upset and she ended up leaving. That's when Jason eventually found her or whatever, and that's when she told him that coming back was a big mistake. I think the last thing is that 88 Turner ended up telling Drew about the document that showed that he bribed the judge with $1 million.